Welcome to Edging. I am Brooke.
I'm Bridgett.
And this is where I really start to discourage you from reading these books. Today, we are talking about Eclipse. And on the plus side, that means that we are closer than ever to Bella getting everything she wants. It's going to be a hard road, though.
This is book 3.
This is book 3.
So I read all of these, as a kid. And I watched most of the movies. I actually don't think I've seen everyone.
I'll be honest, all of the movies are trash except the first one and the last one. They are both masterpieces. The rest are fun to watch because you're watching them, but the first movie is amazing and the last movie is amazing.
Yeah.
Catherine Hardwicke should have done all of them. She was the best director. She's the one who did the first one. And then the rest of the directors were men.
Oh.
Yeah. But whoever did the last one, he got it there.
Yeah. But I don't remember what happens in each of these, so I'm very interested to see what you will uncover for me.
Yeah, man. It's
not looking promising, though.
To me, this is the most indefensible book in the entire series.
Well,
I think it is the hardest one to read. And as a kid, I don't think it was hard for me to read at all. Well, I actually am not sure because it's pretty bad. And I do remember struggling. I've never been into love triangles.
Yeah.
I don't really like stories like that. They've always stressed me out. And I do remember feeling kind of stressed about that aspect of it. It's part of what makes me always finish the series because I just have to get to the part where everything is okay again because it gets so bad. But also, I don't really think this is a love triangle, which I've talked about before. It is definitely, it's not even really written like one until it kind of is. It was much more marketed as a love triangle for the movies.
Yeah.
I think. The books do get there at the end of this book, but we're going to talk a lot about that and how I feel about the way that happens. Bridgett, are you ready to jump right in, or do you want to talk about anything else in the world?
Since our last episode, I did fake bleach eyebrows.
Oh.
So in case you all were like, did she bleach her eyebrows? No, because I forgot I did them.
Yeah.
And then I went home, and my husband came home from work. And I've also been rewatching Bojack Horseman.
Oh, I need to do that.
So he was like, do we need to call someone? Are you okay? Well? Are you well? Because literally I was rewatching Bojack because I think Bojack is one of the best TV shows ever written.
I have not finished it, but I watched at least 4 seasons. It's so good.
You haven't even got to the fuck wildness of it all.
That's crazy. Because I feel like it is a show that I never felt was going off the rails, but it just kept going forward. And I was like, this is crazy.
The last episode was one of the best last episodes, I think. I was like, this is how this should end.
I'm really excited to finish it then, because I feel like that's really rare, especially in a series that runs that long, for them to kind of just tell the story they really want to tell.
But I started rewatching it again, and Clark came downstairs, and he's like, are you, because a lot of personal stuff has also been happening, and he's like, are you okay? So then when I also had bleached eyebrows, he's like, did you bleach your eyebrows? And I was like, no, this is fake. It's just a mascara you can put on your eyebrows. And he's like, okay. He's like, are you good? And I'm just like, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, it was a look.
Yeah, I thought it looked good. I forgot that also that you did that, because I was just like, that looks good. It's a look you can do. Also, I said this right before we started. I'm wearing the same shirt I wore last time. That's just like it's been time. It's been washed.
Well, when you said that, I was like, oh, am I wearing the same shirt? Because I'm wearing the same lipstick.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, the only difference would be bleached eyebrows back to normal eyebrows, but no, it was a different shirt.
We try our best. I think I accidentally associate different shirts with recording the show without thinking. And then I just go to pick it out and I'm like, oh, that's a cute shirt for today. And it'll look good on camera. And I'm like, yeah, it looked good on camera last time too. So if you've watched the videos of our show and noticed that about me, I know. it's never worth it to me to change my shirt though. I'm like, well, I guess it's just like a uniform.
What's funny is you'll have on something different, but it'll be washed, and I'll have on something, or you'll have on something the same, but it'll be washed, and I'll have on something different, but it will not have been. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, fuck, and I'm just going through the dirty clothes like, I guess I'll wear this.
Yeah, honestly, if it passes the smell test enough, here we are.
Yeah. For shirts and pants, like, I used to like underwear, socks, all of that has to be washed every time. But like shirts and pants, I'm so tired of, I don't buy nice enough things that they can handle too much. So like I'm getting washes. 2 to 3 wears out of everything, unless I'm like working out or something. Yeah. Or unless it's like dead heat of summer. But
I feel like due to the fact that I am, in fact, like such a sweaty girly, my clothes wear out so fast. Yeah. And it's fucked up, honestly. It's unfair. Especially like, I know people like sleep in the same stuff. And so sometimes when I'm packing, I'll be like, oh, do I really need like 2 different sleep shirts? And then I wake up drenched in sweat and I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Yeah. But we all have our different vibes. When I was a teenager, weirdly, like it was more fine. I don't think I was as sweaty as I am now. I think I've really grown into these sweat glands.
Your 30s changes something, because I've also noticed like my hair is soaking wet right now because I showed up late because I washed my hair and it just takes a while. But I, because of stress, have had some hair fall out. Mm-hmm. And it's fucking crazy the amount my hair is changing as I get older. Really? Because one piece of hair will fall out, like one hair, and it'll be almost red and straight. And then another hair will fall out, and it will be like black and wavy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? My hair was straight as a stick most of my life. And now, like, the texture is changing. It was straight as a stick except for when I was born. I was born with, like, 2 different hair textures, like really straight hair and then, like, a circle of curly hair in the back. Yeah. But then all of the hair around the bottom fell out, and I had, like, a baby fade.
It's so interesting because, like, it is... Your hair follicles, it's like a shape thing. Mm-hmm. And it would make sense that as you age, it would be something that can change. Because, like, a lot of stuff can change it. Like, pregnancy can change people's hair textures. And, like, going through radiation can change it. And it happens slowly because it's happening, like, at the follicle. Yeah. I was born with like a full head of black hair that I think was curly, which is certainly not my story now. It like all fell out. My mom thought my mom was like, you had one job, which was to make sure we got the right baby. And I don't think you did. And I was just like, nah, it's just hang on. My transformation's not complete.
I love that.
All right, guys, let's just do it. Let's rip off the Band-Aid. It's going to be fun, too. And we've been building towards this. We've done a lot of work to get here because we have to talk about these books. It's time. They were important to culture. I think they tell us a lot about our culture. But before we get started, I know we've discussed content warnings for the Twilight saga as a whole, but I want to do a little reminder. Throughout this series, we're dealing with a lot of difficult themes, but in Eclipse, the dangers that are looming over Bella aren't just like her fantastical circumstances or the threat of these secondary characters that want to kill her, you know, all of the drama of loving a vampire and being around werewolves. In this book, I think one of the main bad guys is her best friend. And I don't think the book knows that. And that can make it really hard to discuss what happens to Bella in this book. So please take care of yourself and skip this episode if you need to. We'll be back with a different story next time. My thesis is, a few paragraphs as usual. There's like a lot of little moments in this book that are traumatic, and there are like traumatic scenes we're going to talk about that I think are pretty impossible to defend. But when I sat down, when I've read a book and I'm remembering the pieces of it, I usually kind of forget how we get to those pieces. And so then I'll be collecting my notes and I'll be going through the book and trying to like arrange in a timeline. Where do these things happen? And I realized as I was doing that part of what makes this book so difficult is that in a vacuum, the really horrible moments and horrible scenes, they're horrible, right? Horrible things happen. But what's really, really hard is the context around them and the way that the story responds to them, the way other characters react to them or treat Bella when she seeks help. That is so much harder than the moments. And that made me think that this is a book where Bella spends the entire story desperately trying to manage the desires of the men in her life. And their happiness is somehow entirely dependent on her sacrificing some part of her own. And it feels like a pretty unintentional illustration of how impossible it is to be a woman in the world and how you can never meet the expectations that the men in your life have of you. It's impossible to live up to the ideals of the woman that the patriarchy imagines you to be.
We're not passing the Bechdel test, are we, gang?
No, we are not. Actually, no, we're not. I thought maybe for a second, we're not. I don't know if there's a single moment in these books where we would be. So the first man that Bella can't please is her father, Charlie. He spends most of this book pouting about the fact that Edward is back. At the end of the last book, Bella went to rescue Edward from killing himself or whatever. And
something every teenage girl.
I swear. Honestly, kind of, and that sucks. Understandably, to some degree, Charlie is pretty wary of Edward, but the ways in which he reacts are not normal for a parent. So he legitimately spends most of the book pouting and throwing tantrums. And he oscillates between moments of real fathering, stemming from this fear that Bella will slip into another depression. But he also can't contain his glee at anything that pits Edward and Jacob against each other. Charlie is firmly Team Jacob. And much like the marketing campaign that sold this story as a love triangle, that gets way darker as the book goes on and way harder to defend. Charlie also continued to assert pretty directly to Bella that it is her job to repair things with Jacob. Jacob is currently not talking to her. She has been trying to talk to him. She's been reaching out to him, and he keeps rebuffing all of her advances. She's even passing notes to him through Charlie, having Charlie bring notes to his dad. And Charlie is really just perpetuating Bella's own self-perception that she's somehow failing Jacob because she can't make him okay with being just friends with her.
Yeah.
And then, we have Jacob. I think the character of Jacob is really complicated. We're constantly contending with Stephenie Meyer's abuses of Quileute culture and her damaging portrayals of Native men in general. We touched on this when we were talking about New Moon, but there's an undercurrent of racial bias that I don't think we can ignore when we talk about the Twilight saga overall. The Native men in this series, and most prominently Jacob, are portrayed as out of control, controlling, possessive, and violent. Genuinely a sort of if I can't have you, no one should attitude. Meanwhile, our white hero, Edward, commits more civilized acts of violence against Bella.
Yeah.
He continues to gaslight her, to twist her reality to protect her from outside forces. And he tries to keep her away from Jacob during the first part of this book because in the lore of this story, the werewolves are unstable and dangerous. And in the fiction of this book, that's true. But it doesn't really make it less troubling when I think we consider the stereotypes that are generally applied to Native men and, in general, men of color.
Yeah.
So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the very specific harms that Jacob does to Bella in this book and through to the next and last book in the series. But as we do that, I want to make sure we just don't lose sight of all of those factors. I also want to be clear, since I don't recommend that you read these books, that I don't think Stephenie Meyer thinks Jacob is a bad guy. And I don't think she would expect to be accused of portraying Native men negatively. I think she thinks the things that these characters do are okay. And what makes the character of Jacob so difficult is how clearly the author empathizes with him. And that lends a certain credibility to the violence that he commits against Bella. And that's something that Meyer also perpetuates with Edward. With all of the male characters, there is a lot of excusing this behavior, especially because the books are written from Bella's perspective. And then, there's Edward. So in our trifecta of men that are ruining Bella's fucking life, she's 18 years old, supposed to be vibing. I do not want to be mistaken as like a Team Edward propagandist. Anytime I'm gassing the character of Edward up, it is for one reason and one reason only, and it is that for the most part, he wants Bella to get whatever she wants. And for the first half of this book, he does some batshit fucking crazy stuff. The accusations that people will make of Twilight, of the relationship between Edward and Bella being codependent and like gaslighty and like stalky, that's all true. And that all fucking happens in like the first few chapters. It's only like in the context of this world where all of the men are so heinous that I think Edward is able to stand out as like the least offensive.
Yeah.
But what I think it really comes down to is that Edward is what Bella wants.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like kind of all that matters. And once he's back on Team Bella, I love that. I hate this first part of this book where everyone is just being horrible. And like, as per usual, the bar is in fucking hell.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when the bar's in the lowest layer of hell, like, the top layers of hell are going to seem heavenly.
Yeah, exactly. So part one of this book, Bella is always in trouble. There are no fucking heroes at the beginning of this book. Edward is in rare form. He's not making sure Bella gets what she wants, and he's being an absolute dick about her seeing Jacob. This is also kind of not an issue because Jacob isn't seeing Bella right now. He's declared that, like, since she's dating his mortal enemy or whatever, that, like, they can't be friends. So he won't answer her calls. And like I said, they're communicating in these notes passed between their dads. At the same time, there's like a string of unsolved murders happening in and around Seattle that's got Charlie on his fuck big cities cop shit. And Edward hints to Bella that the trouble in Seattle might be newborn vampires who are like thirsty and on a rampage. In the midst of all that, Edward wants Bella to focus on her college applications. He's still like vying for her to spend more time as a human. And she's like, I don't really see the point. I got accepted to the University of Alaska, which is a great alibi for when I become a vampire after I graduate. So this remains a point of tension between them, and his marriage proposal remains unanswered. Bella still is like wanting to become a vampire, but she is also starting to think about what that's actually going to mean for her life and what she'll lose when she gains what she wants the most. She thinks about not being able to see Charlie or visit her mom in Florida, and their confusion about her absence and how she'll have to lie to them in order to protect them from her because she won't be able to be around them.
Yeah. And I think of this, I've been thinking about this a lot since we've started talking about this series again. It might be the Appalachian part of me, but no part of me ever wants to live forever.
I could not agree more.
Like,
it is insane to me.
The fact that somebody would want this, and there are some people who, like, would love to live forever.
Yeah. A lot of people. I have a tattoo that isn't quite a tramp stamp, but it's low, that says anything eternal is hell. And, like, it is genuinely very difficult.
I love that you basically have a tramp stamp. Yeah. Almost a tramp stamp that says anything eternal is hell.
I just try to keep it real. I completely agree with you. And I think part of that is that, like, I mean, Bella's 18. And her biggest worry is that her boyfriend that she, like, wants to spend the rest of her life with is 17. And she just, like, is having still a lot of anxiety about getting older.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's just worried about regular girly things. And this is contrasted against the backdrop of, like, normal senioritis. You know, her friends at school are thinking about high school ending and their next plans. And it's a big life change for all the people around her, too. So Bella eats lunch typically with Angela, our queen, her boyfriend, Ben, Edward, and Alice. And the rest of the kids don't really, like, chill with them. And a lot of them are like, that's weird. But Angela is everything. I love Angela. She's, like, the best character in the series. She's just, like, a normal girl and a really good friend. And we'll talk a little bit more about her later, but Angela fucks. And I guess Emmett and Rosalie have already graduated. And I think also Jasper, although I don't know if the book says that or not, but, like, he's not there. So they're supposed to have already graduated. So they're, like, not hanging around in Forks, like, being seen.
Yeah. I also, like, love that these 100-something-year-old kids are like, what if when we move here, you're a junior?
Literally, it's just really wild to me.
Yeah.
I guess, Stephenie, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, during lunch, Alice has a vision. And both she and Edward are really cagey about it. Like, Bella notices Alice do her, like, that's so Raven, brain blast thing. And when later Bella just asks Edward about it, he says something vague about the vision being about Jasper. And he's like, it's no big deal. And internally, Bella scolds herself for trying to make something out of nothing. And she thinks, like, I'm so silly for thinking that Edward was hiding something from me. And I know, yeah,
you're so right.
Exactly. And this is a really common thread in this book. This is just, like, on top of everything else, Edward is definitely lying to her. And more on that later. We'll talk about the reasoning and whatever, but this is so manipulative, and it sucks so bad to be in her head as she's thinking, like, I'm being so ridiculous. So Edward is, like, trying to convince Bella that they should use the plane tickets that his parents bought her for her birthday last year to go visit her mom in Florida. And she's also been thinking, like, man, I'm going to be, like, turned into a vampire soon. And I haven't seen my mom in a long time. And, you know, but she also things are so tense with Charlie. She doesn't want to have a fight with him about it. And so she's like, let's not this week. Edward brings it up anyway. And Bella has to manage the fallout of her dad's tantrum. And then Charlie tries to, like, have the talk with Bella, which is honestly fine. He's, like, awkward because that's who he is, but he mostly seems to be concerned with making sure she understands how to have safe sex.
Yeah.
He's not like, you need to be virginal or whatever. She does at one point just yell, like, I'm a virgin, stop asking me questions, which is relatable. I think I did that too. But he is like, hey, I know the times have changed. I'm not expecting anything crazy. And she's like, Dad. And he's like, listen, I'm having a worse time than you. It's important for us to talk about this. And then she's like, Mom and I have discussed this.
Yeah.
We do not have to talk about this. But then Charlie's like, how are things with Jacob? And Bella's like, I don't know. he's not really talking to me and I don't know how to fix it. And then we get this scene, which I think is so heartbreaking, where Charlie says, "Keep trying, Bella. I know you'll do the right thing. You're a good person." And Bella thinks, nice. So if I don't figure out some way to make things right with Jacob, then I'm a bad person. That's below the belt. And then she says, sure, I agreed. And the automatic response almost made me smile. It was something I'd picked up from Jacob. I even said it in the same patronizing tone he used with his own father. Which is just like a lot in a couple lines.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's so interesting how much people wanted to use things like this as proof that, like, see, Bella is torn between Edward and Jacob. And it's like, no, Bella's being torn between Edward and Jacob. You can be friends with people. It is okay and good and healthy to have friends and love them. And like the context of this is very much like Jacob being like, you're with the vampires, Bella, whatever. But it's also like right after he's made a move on her that she doesn't reciprocate.
Yeah.
Like it does really seem like he is punishing her. And then her dad is just like, I know you'll figure out how to fix this. And that's like what most of this book feels like. Bella questioning her own sanity, feeling shitty for not doing something that it is not her job to do and that she literally can't do.
Yeah.
You can't make someone else feel okay with something like you being with another person. And she is reaching out to Jacob, and it's like not okay that he's constantly trying to make advances toward her and make her feel like she has to choose between him and Edward. That's not what a friend does. I don't like care about the stupid vampire werewolf beef shit. I think it's an excuse for Jacob to keep pouting and punishing Bella or like whatever toxic tantrum he's throwing.
Yeah. And because I feel like if Jacob were like, hey, I have feelings for you and this is tough for me, so I can't be around you.
Totally.
That's totally acceptable. But like leaving the motorcycles on her front lawn and just trying to like start shit, like he's obviously hurt.
Yeah.
But this is not great behavior for, like, if you need to dip, you need to dip.
Yeah.
Because getting rejected can hurt. But like, it's not everybody else. It's not the person who rejected you's responsibility to make everything okay.
Exactly. So Bella's all wound up and she just decides, like, I need to see Jacob. She's tired of this. And so she's like, I'm just going to go see him because he's done this before. He's like dodged her calls and like whatever. So, and also her dad is like, you're a bad person if you don't go see him. So she's like, fuck it. We ball. So she goes out to her truck to leave while Edward is out hunting, and her truck won't start. And then Bella jumps because she realizes that Edward is right there in the cab. And apparently Alice saw her future disappear, which means wolves. Means she was planning to go to see Jacob. And so Edward has taken it upon himself to keep her from going to La Push by literally disabling her truck, keeping it from starting. Which we, like, do not love. That's fucking insane behavior. And Bella is obviously, like, fucking furious, but she literally just, like, she just gives up. She just leaves. And Edward is like, just close your window if you don't want me to come over later. And she's like, fucking whatever. And then she, like, slams her window shut, and then she, like, waits, and then she, like, opens it again, and then she, like, pouts on her bed. And it's, like, just so real. And then also, what the hell? Whatever. There's so much more to get to.
You've lived this many years and you still...
Exactly. Never had a girlfriend, though.
We fucking know why.
Yeah, exactly. So Edward gets his way, obviously, and they visit her mom over the weekend, which we don't actually see, which I think is interesting. Bella tells us about it by, like, starting the next chapter with being like, we're on our way back from Florida. Here's how it went. Renee and Charlie are both like really dog shit parents in different ways and like good in other ways, like most parents, you know. They have some flaws and they have some things they kind of shine at. And we know that Bella has had to take care of her mom and that her mom is like kind of not responsible, but she's a lot more emotionally mature than Charlie, obviously. And she's more perceptive. And so she brings up that Bella and Edward seem like more serious than she was expecting for a high school relationship. She's like, you're so attuned to one another and like aware of each other in space. And that's just, I don't know, Bella, I think that's interesting. And I just want to make sure you're still planning on like going to college if that's what you want to do. I kind of just want to gauge where you're at. And there's this really poignant moment where Bella teases her mom by just about like reading too many mysteries. You know, she's like, oh, Mom, you're just like reading into it. And her mom is immediately like, yeah, I'm just being really silly, huh? And Bella can't bring herself to fully trick her mom, especially like because she's right. Like she knows, she's like, I don't feel like I can explain to my mom how strongly I feel for Edward because she's right. Like this is a person that I'm ready to spend eternity with. And I know that's weird. And that's part of why I like don't want to get married, because I know my mom will see that as this thing that is really scary because it's what she did. And Bella has this moment where she's like, I don't want to manipulate my mom. She like compromises and she says like, no, you're not being silly. You're just being a mom. And this isn't the moment where Bella realizes Edward is lying to her. But it's interesting because she makes this conscious decision to not do what we have just seen him do to her. I don't know if that's intentional writing or not. I kind of don't think so. It was just really interesting to me. And I noticed it when I was preparing these notes. She doesn't notice that Edward had manipulated her as easily as she just was about to manipulate her mom, that he betrayed her trust in him and she couldn't fully betray her mother's trust. She just still trusts Edward, and she doesn't really know why he wanted to spend the weekend in Florida or what Alice really saw in her vision. But after this break, we'll all find out.
Oh, God.
How are you feeling?
Not great. Like, honestly, kind of sick. When you said the thing about the truck, I was like,
you know what?
I've not thought about these things.
And it is so hard for me to be the one to tell you that that is like nothing compared to what is coming. So again, check in with yourselves. I'm not going to like go into like a lot of detail, obviously, about anything, but like this is just the miasma of this book. Like, this is what I mean. You know, if you were to say, oh, took the thing out of my truck, you'd be like, that's really fucked up. And then you'd like move on. But it's the way everyone is reacting to the things that Bella is upset about that is like really, really maddening and traumatic to read.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is very representative of how it feels to be a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And, like, it has to be, like, one of the layers of hell.
Yeah, it's crazy to be in a position, I mean, especially exactly where Bella is, where she's 18. Her dad is, like, grounding her, and she's very much wielding, she's like, I will move out. And then he, like, is freaking out, and she's like, listen, I'm not trying to give you, like, an aneurysm, Dad. I'm trying to work with you, and I'm willing to like do this grounding thing, but I need you to be reasonable with me. And I just remember what that feels like to be like this emotionally mature, still kind of kid, you know, but like everyone's expecting you to be both like submissive and an adult.
Yeah.
In a way that like I know people who are socialized as boys also experience, but it's different when you're a girl and it's weird and it's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, you're expected to be grown, act grown, not act too grown.
Yeah.
But you don't have much autonomy.
Exactly. So when Bella, I don't know at what point. At some point, Bella is like home and Jacob calls. And at first, Bella's like, fuck yes. Oh my God, I have so much to talk about. Like, I'm so glad you called me. And then he's just like, are you going to be at school tomorrow? And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, okay, bye. And then Bella's like trying to like figure out why he asked that. And then she's like, he's checking to see if I was turned while I was gone for 3 days. And Edward is like, oh, you think so? Fuck. And then they're like, oh, do you think he's like checking to see if the treaty's broken? Because if the treaty is broken, if they make a new vampire, then technically the werewolves can attack the Cullens. But the next day, Jacob shows up at her school and Edward is like reading his thoughts and is immediately like, oh, you were wrong. That's not why. He called because he wanted to see if I would be here. I'm calling this section Team Jedward, I guess. This is when I guess their love affair begins. So Jacob has come to talk to Edward, and Bella's there, but Jacob is like surprised that Bella doesn't already know what's going on. And Bella's like, what do you mean what's going on? And Edward's like, don't tell her. It's like, whatever. And then that's all happening. And as Bella is listening to them argue, she starts putting it all together from context clues. And she starts having a panic attack as she realizes why Edward wanted to get her out of town and why, apparently, Emmett ended up crossing into the wolves' territory and what Alice actually saw in her vision. Victoria is back for her.
Okay.
And as Bella has said panic attack, Edward and Jacob are like arguing about whether or not Edward should have lied to her. And Edward is like, see, like it's just very stressful. Like he's like, she's fucking made of glass. And Jacob is like, you should fucking tell her the truth. To be clear, I agree with Jacob.
I was going to say Team Jacob for this fucking answer.
Careful, Bridgett.
For this answer.
Yeah. However,
I also am not. I'm Team Bella.
I'm Team Bella.
I'm Team Bella. Become a vampire. Leave his ass.
Exactly.
Be a phoenix vampire. Start that.
Yes, bitch. I'm like so ready for her to live her truth. But I agree with Jacob. Caveat. Also, if he had been talking to Bella and been her friend, he could have just fucking told her.
Yeah.
He could have, I don't know, like this sort of pissing contest thing where it's like, oh, your little boyfriend didn't tell you the truth. Why didn't you tell her the truth, little boyfriend? And I'm like, this is just so performative.
Yeah.
This is for him and Edward. They're like having this little fucking pissing contest and Bella's in the middle, like hyperventilating. Anyway. Jacob starts, this is so fucking annoying. This is so annoying. Jacob starts thinking about how fucked up Bella was when Edward left just to like hurt Edward because Edward can read his mind. It's all so fucking dramatic.
It's so dramatic, but also like.
It's great.
I get that, Jacob.
Jacob tells Bella that actually he's decided they can be friends if Bella comes to La Push. And then he's like, also genuine, and he's like, I really miss you. And I think, listen, this sucks, but I think this is manipulative on purpose.
Yeah.
Because Bella tells us, she's like, I feel so protective of Jacob. And like, there's nothing I can do when I see that he's genuinely in pain. And that's going to come up a lot, is that like, I think especially because when she was struggling so much, he was there for her. And she has never forgotten that. And that's part of why Charlie saying stuff like, you need to fix things with Jacob cuts her so hard to her core, because she's like, I want Jacob around. I am desperately trying to fix things, and I can tell that he is struggling, and I want to be there for him, but I don't know how to because he is struggling because I don't want to date him.
Yeah.
And because I am with someone else.
Yeah.
And she just feels like she is literally being torn in two. Fucking awful. He only does this in front of Edward, right? Like pitting her against him, trying to cause problems between them. And he's been dodging her calls and notes for like weeks, but what else is fucking new? Jacob leaves. Bella is like in notes in class. She's like, tell me what the fuck is going on. And Edward is like, okay. And he's like, yes, Alice did see Victoria in her vision. Jasper, Rosalie, and Emmett were hunting her. And Victoria seemed to understand like the boundary line between the Cullen and Quileute territory. And so she was like running along it. And so it was really easy for them to like I think Seth, one of the wolves, like thought that Emmett had crossed and then like freaked out and they had to like keep the peace and they lost her. And Edward admits that Florida was an excuse to get Bella out of town. Bella tells Edward that he will never lie to her again, and so this will not be a problem. And then he's like, yes, ma'am. And Edward goes out of town to hunt, and Bella finally manages to sneak away to see Jacob. So she gets sent home early from work, and she's just like, she just gets in her truck and starts driving toward La Push. She's like, Alice won't have time to like, because she knows Alice will be watching out since Edward's out of town. I am personally a huge fan of Bella doing whatever the fuck she wants. And I genuinely really love her friendship with Jacob. And I think that's why it hurts so much when that is just not enough for him. It is, I don't know if I can stress this enough. And I think for any of our listeners who have experienced this, I don't have to. It is very painful for someone to not be interested in your friendship. Yeah. When you have been their friend. Yeah. Jacob is like kind of pouty and annoying about Edward, but most of this interaction is actually really nice because it's like old school Jacob and Bella. We're like back to our bullshit. Bella explains, Jacob is like, you know, like whatever, you're bloodsucker, blah, blah, blah. And Bella's like, well, I actually think you would agree with Edward for the reason that he left me. And Jacob's like, I can't imagine that. And then she's like, well, he didn't think I should be hanging around vampires. And Jacob's like, oh, I do agree with that.
Yeah, maybe we should just suck each other's dicks about it. Yeah, maybe we should
just fucking kiss or whatever. So the mood clears. And he asks Bella to tell him, like, what happened when she went to rescue Edward. Because, like, they're friends and they haven't caught up in a while. So she does. She tells him the story. And then Bella is like, tell me everything that happened with Victoria. And then they fight some more about Edward and the vampire werewolf thing in general. And it's really so obviously not about that. It's about the fact that Jacob has feelings for Bella. Because we've seen that Jacob will show up for Bella despite the vampire werewolf bullshit unless his feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
So it's a good conversation, and they find some common ground. And Jacob reveals the story of Sam, who's like the alpha of the pack, changing into a wolf first. And we get some important backstory. So I've mentioned this before, but this is where like Bella learns that Sam was dating Leah Clearwater. And also through this conversation, Jacob is literally like trying to hold Bella's face and shit. And she literally tells us, I just held his hand so as not to hurt his feelings. If anyone's like, not all men, nice guys finish last. I'm like, why don't you be a teenage girl for about 5 minutes? Why don't you spend a semester of high school as a teenage girl? Anyway, the elders in the tribe notice that something is happening with Sam, and they're able to like help him through it and stuff gets easier. And Bella learns that the wolves don't age, and she fucking snaps. She's like, am I the only person who has to get older in my entire fucking life? And Jacob's like, whoa, hi. He's like, sit down. We do eventually age. And she's like, explain. And he's like, we don't age while we're wolves. But if they stop phasing for a while, they start aging again. This is actually pretty cool, lore-wise. And this is interesting. They age super rapidly when the wolf gene activates, and that's so they all get like so tall so fast. And hilariously, this means that Jacob is one of the only characters with a fully developed brain. But he's also the youngest. Which I think actually explains a lot about how this story goes. Because he would be like physically 25, but like he still only has the life experience of being 16.
Yeah.
You know, or 17 or whatever he is now, maybe 17. But like almost all of the Cullens, barring Esme and Carlisle, they never became 25. You know, they never got to the point where their brains would have developed. They all became vampires as teenagers. Which is just like depressing, dude. It's so fucking depressing. Anyway, Jacob explains that Sam is mad at Bella. And she's like, why the fuck is everybody mad at me? And I'm like, yeah, why is everybody mad at Bella? But it's because he's the one who found her after Edward left her. And I think he sort of thought she'd be the one person who would hate them as much as he did. Mm-hmm. And Bella's like, why does Sam hate them so much? Like, I know you all have the vampire thing. And it's because of what he feels they made him do to Leah. Because he transformed and they all started transforming because the Cullens came back. Their gene activated. And because of that, he imprinted on Leah's cousin, Emily. And
while he was dating Leah.
And he feels like he can never forgive himself for the pain that he caused for Leah and the betrayal to her, and then also to Emily and Leah's relationship. Because it's just this like horrible wound in their family. And Emily was furious at first, but eventually like she was like, I really do like you. And, you know, you're clearly like me. And she fell in love with him, too. And then, like, Leah is, like, trying her best. Jacob says this really sad thing where he's like, you know, like, Leah's going to be a bridesmaid. And it's just, like, fucking heart-wrenching. So,
fuck you, Stephenie Meyer.
Yeah, dude.
Like, why does this imprinting shit have to be? And I know why.
Yeah.
Because of the end.
Yeah. I know. And honestly, like, this is some of the better writing in the series. I think this is a like really good storytelling here. I think the way she uses imprinting here is really interesting. It's some of the other stuff that she does with it that I'm not like hundo into. It is through this conversation that we get, I think, one of the best lines in the series where Bella is like, you need to get over this feud thing. You're not a werewolf and Edward isn't a vampire. You're just Edward and Jacob and I'm Bella. And Jacob is like, but I am a werewolf and he is a vampire. And our bitch is like, and I'm a Virgo. And he's like, okay. She's like, I'm so tired of this. She's like, you guys need to fucking figure it out. I am exhausted. It is so hard to be me right now. They part on better terms and they finally aired some shit out. And it feels so good in this moment that I always feel as I'm reading it, I'm like, maybe it's not as bad as I think. Like, it doesn't get bad because this feels like a reasonable amount of pouting for a person to do, you know, in the circumstances that Jacob has been in. And I think even though I can't excuse him, like, forcibly kissing her in the last book, I could imagine a world in which we're like, we've sorted this out. Yeah. You're an idiot kid. We've talked about it. You understand. We can move forward and be friends. This is not where the tension ends. But we do get a brief respite as Bella leaves La Push to spend a normal day with her only normal friend with no agenda, the lovely Angela Weber. As she leaves La Push, a Volvo is tailing her to Angela's because obviously Edward has like found out that she went there and he can't go into La Push because of the treaty. She ignores it, which I love, and she just like goes into Angela's house and is like, whatever. She helps Angela address her hundreds of graduation announcements. And Angela's like, are you sure you don't mind to help? And Bella's like, put me to work. Let's go, girl. And Angela's not just like normal. She's one of those amazing people who's really nice and really kind and observant, like even in high school. You know those people, like, they were just like always really sweet. And she notices that Bella seems worried about something. And so she brings it up and she just says, you don't have to talk about it unless you want to. I'll listen if you think it'll help. She's like so fucking regular. She's just like a good friend. And Bella does, like, she vents a little bit, obviously not being like, well, my boyfriend's a vampire and my best friend's a werewolf, but he has like a crush on me. But she is like, you know, my friend Jacob, and Angela's like, oh yeah, I saw that little standoff at school today. Is it a whole jealousy thing? And Bella's like, yes. And they can just talk about it. And then Bella is super jumpy driving home because she's worried about how angry her boyfriend will be at her.
Yeah, that's fucking great.
I love that. And she's also been all day trying not to set Jacob off. And so she's just super worried that one of them is going to get mad at her. And in her head, and I can't even unpack the trauma of this because it's so relatable, in her head, it will be her fault.
Do you have anything I could drink?
Yeah.
Like alcoholic?
Yes.
I am literally my palms are so sweaty because I'm just thinking about this poor girl.
We are going to take an unscheduled ad break because Bridgett and I need a drink.
Oh my God.
Welcome back to Edging.
I'm going to push my microphone a little bit away because I'm eating, because I'm drinking, because I'm fucking stressed.
Yeah, honestly, we're going through a lot, and we know you're going through it right with us. So I hope you paused and got yourself a drink or something to eat, something to just chomp on while you rage about what's happening. When we left off, Bella was worried and jumpy driving home because she's scared of her boyfriend and how angry he will be. After having to try and not set her best friend, Jacob, off all day because she doesn't love him back like that. It's exhausting to be a girl, but at least Charlie is happy with her since she saw Jacob and spent time with Angela. And to be clear, there is a moment where Charlie is like, I think you should spend time with all of your other friends. That's great. That's good parenting. It is the focus on Jacob and it being like somehow Bella's job to mend things with Jacob that is really weird.
Yeah.
Edward tries to like forbid Bella from going there again, and she just tells him he can sit the fuck down and start learning how to not overreact. He's like, this can't happen again, and she's like, oh, it won't, because you won't act like this next time.
He was trying to say she can't go to La Push again?
Yeah. So this is like a firm boundary that Bella is totally right to set. They do not come to an agreement, but also, she's like, I'm not going to promise you shit, and I don't think you're right about werewolves being dangerous. Like, I think it's fine. And it is like, nothing about what Edward is doing is okay, just to be clear. The reason he is doing it, and I think this is true, is that there is this impression of the werewolves as being very dangerous. Unfortunately, in the lore of this book, that's true. You know, we know that. Emily has a scar on her face from Sam losing control around her. Again, this goes into the very violent stereotypes that Stephenie Meyer is working with when it comes to Native men.
And they were killing and eating the tourists in Italy.
Yeah. And they also, like, Bella has been wounded many times being around them. So, bit of a double standard. Next time Edward goes hunting, Bella's like, hell yeah, going to La Push. But Alice comes over and is like, sleepover? And Bella's like, you came to kidnap me? And Alice is like, yeah. So it's interesting because, like, again, this whole song and dance is not played for jealousy on Edward's part. Because of some things that happen later in the book, I buy that. Alice is a traitor for this. It is this, like, weird parenting shit that she does that makes me struggle to accept. The book wants me to believe that Alice is Bella's best friend. The book also wants you to believe that Jacob is Bella's best friend, but then it does some really fucked up shit later. But the book wants you to be like, Alice is a good friend to Bella. And it's hard to accept that because Alice will just come and kidnap her because Edward wants her to. I will say also, Alice believes that werewolves are dangerous. She's like, I think it's fucking crazy that you're trying to go there with a bunch of, like, brand new werewolves.
You know what, Alice? And you're married to a Confederate soldier.
I just think it's really important to remember that you're married to a Confederate soldier. It's just a lot of judgment coming from inside the house. Anyway, Alice is not being a girl's girl. We'll see how we feel about her at the end of the series. She's complicated. Bella leaves a message for Edward, letting him know that she's fucking furious and she hopes he enjoys his encounters with grizzly bears while he's hunting because he's not seen fucking anything until he gets home and faces her. She also finds that they have had a bed delivered to the house just for her to sleep in. And she's like, this fucking ridiculous bed in a house where nobody goddamn sleeps. I have a bed at my own fucking house. Very valid. But as she's like snuggling in to go to sleep, Rosalie comes to talk to her. She asks if Bella would like to hear how she became a vampire and why she thinks Bella should reconsider leaving her humanity behind. So Rosalie tells us her story. She was the daughter of a banker. She was middle class. She was beautiful. She didn't want for anything. She describes her parents as social climbers who saw her beauty as an opportunity. And Rosalie, for her part, was like, I love being beautiful. I love being adored. And I'm content to marry into more money. I like things. I like nice things. And she describes herself as shallow and young. You know, she was naive. There was only one thing that was real that wasn't shallow that she wanted. And she did not realize it until a friend of hers had her first baby. And she had never imagined being jealous of this friend who wasn't beautiful and didn't marry somebody rich. But not only does this like friend of hers have a baby, she also sees that she and her husband are like very in love. It's the only time she's seen something that she couldn't just imagine like buying or necessarily getting with her looks. But she's also like, you know, if I marry for money, I can still have a family. And that is what she realizes she wants. Her dream is to have what her friend has. She gets it. She's like, that is what I imagine for myself. So, everything looks good. The son of the man who owns the bank that Rosalie's dad works at starts courting her. And she's like, he's the richest guy in town. I'm the most beautiful. This is great. Her parents are into it. She's like, his attention was so lavish and he sent me all these flowers. And she's like, no brainer. I accepted his engagement. And then like while they're engaged, one night she's walking home and she encounters her fiance and his name is Royce. And he's out with his friends and they're all drunk. And Rosalie does not go into detail here. And we are not going to go into detail here. But Royce and his friends become violent. And Royce makes it clear that he believes Rosalie is his property. Not only she will be his property when they're married, but she is his property now. And they leave her for dead in the street. And as they're walking away, she hears like one of the guys joke that he's going to have to find a new wife now. So that is when Carlisle found her and he turned her. And iconically, Rosalie is like, you know, it's funny. I almost have as good of a track record as Carlisle. I've never tasted human blood. I've never killed someone to suck their blood. And she's like, but I have killed 5 people. And she talks about how, yeah, she killed every single one of those bitches. And when she got to Royce, who she left for the end so that he would know what was coming. Fucking love this bitch. She's like, I was a little dramatic. I did wear a wedding dress.
I forgot.
We needed a palate cleanser, I swear. Rosalie also admits to Bella, aside from all of this, Bella asks, like, is that why you hated me so much or whatever? And Rosalie's like, oh my God, no, I hated you so much when I first met you because I was jealous of you. And Bella's like, of me? I'm such an ugly troll that nobody could ever love. And then you're just reading this like, okay, Bella. And Rosalie's like, I mean, you are beautiful, but like you're human. And not only did Edward never want me, he never wanted anyone. Like I saw all of these beautiful women throw themselves at him, and Bella's like, but you have Emmett. And Rosalie's like, oh, I never like liked Edward like that. I just like, he didn't want me and that's fucked up. And I'm like, go off, girl. And she's like, so yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I was really jealous of you because you were getting this attention. And she's like, and the reason that I am still really harsh with you. And she's like, and I promised myself I wouldn't get emotional or, you know, I would be really calm when I explain this to you. But she's like, to me, you're throwing away your entire life. and it's everything I ever wanted.
Growing up, and you're a weird girl too, so I loved Alice.
Yeah.
She was this little pixie, like,
yeah, 100%.
She could see the future. Now that I'm older, and she's not perfect, obviously, but like Rosalie makes so much more sense with all of this.
Rosalie, there's this redemption arc for Alice later, but I actually really struggle with Alice at the beginning of the series because she is so, like, she just seems to be into Bella because Edward is into Bella, which is fine and cool and supportive as like a family member and as a sister to Edward, but like, it's not interesting from the perspective of Bella. And I think Rosalie is such a cooler character for being willing to be pissed that this is happening.
Yeah.
She's like, she weirdly cares about Bella as a person. And it's weird to say that. I think people would struggle to agree with that. But I really think, like, yes, it is that Bella is throwing away what she wanted, but like it's not like she's going to get it if Bella gets it, you know? It's just like, it might feel like jealousy, but the reality is she's like, this girl is throwing away her whole life. And she says to Bella, she's like, you have no idea what you will want in 10 years.
Yeah.
Or in 20 years. And like nobody else. I mean, Edward also says these things to Bella. I will say that like the only other person, and Jacob doesn't count because he just like fucking sucks. And he's like, you could want me instead. But like Edward and Rosalie are the only characters who are like, you cannot understand what you're giving up.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I feel like everyone else really has like, and I actually kind of get this. I don't even think this is bad characterization. Everyone else is just like too wrapped up in their own immortality, right? Like it's hard for them to fully understand. But I feel like Rosalie and Edward both really feel like becoming a vampire made them lose something. And it's weird because I feel like Esme should be there too.
Yeah.
Like she knows that, and it's not just about having kids. I don't think that's the important thing, but it's just like Esme was trying to take her own life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a perspective we don't get that I would be really interested in, is like that must have been really jarring and interesting and difficult for her to experience, is like being so stricken with grief and then waking up and having to keep living her life. And I think that ultimately it's worked for her, but like we don't get that story. I want that story. I want to know how she feels about all of this, not just like, I just want Edward to be happy.
Yeah, because like you're not, like, yeah, you all have this little family unit. You're not his mom.
Yeah.
You're the adult in this situation. Like everybody's so however old, but like aren't Esme and Carlisle in like their 30s?
Yeah, they're old enough to have developed brains.
Yeah.
And I think Rosalie is just one of the more mature characters in this series.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it until you're older because you're just like, Rosalie just hates Bella. And you're like, well, first of all, who the fuck is Bella to her? And Rosalie does some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Rosalie is like, she's very gleefully like, Bella killed herself. And then Edward is like, me too. And she's like, that was bad. That was bad of me.
Yeah.
But also like, I think she's really interesting. So I love getting to learn more about Rosalie. I loved it when I read it. It's kind of like, as for the way it's written and told, it's a little bit of a hollow origin story. It's very kind of theatrical, but it also, I think, drives home the point. You get it. There's some moments of real beauty in it, where, especially for me, when Rosalie is like, my villain origin story in that moment isn't just like me being this vapid person who's now like different or whatever. I think what she really gets at when she tells this is that honestly, I probably would have been happy to be turned into a vampire even more beautiful than I was in my human life if I hadn't so badly wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
And that's like a more interesting, and she even identifies this. She's like, that was like the only interesting thing about me. I was so fucking shallow, but that was the one real thing I wanted. And I knew it, you know? And so this, I didn't write this down, but I think it's actually really like a really interesting character thing too, because Bella's like, well, you have Emmett now. And Rosalie is like, I love Emmett. I think Emmett is incredible. He's such a good partner to me in ways I couldn't have imagined. But do you know that I found him And she's like, I found him. He had been mauled by a bear. He had been like out hiking and he'd been attacked by a bear. And she was like, I don't even know what came over me. He was covered in blood, but I was able to just like carry him home because he looked so much like her friend's baby. And that made me like, ugh. She's like, he just had the same black curly hair. And what she found in him that she really wanted to rescue was like his boyishness.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is such a beautiful character arc for her. And she's like really lucky that we're in love or whatever and that like it worked out. But she's like, I didn't plan on asking Carlisle to turn him. I just encountered him and he reminded me, I think she kind of describes it as like, he reminded me that I wanted things once and that it was okay to like kind of still want things.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I love his boyishness about him, but she's like, I'm still sad about the things I'm never going to get to have.
Yeah.
She's like, I still mourn that. And Bella's like, thank you for telling me. I'm
going to go to sleep now.
It. Yeah. And Rosalie is like, yeah, bye. So we have that. Bella manages to escape Alice when Jacob shows up to get her right from school, which I love, obviously. So she goes to hang out in La Push with Jacob, and she learns more about imprinting, which I don't really think she's known about or the book has talked about in detail. So we know about the imprinting with Emily and Leah and all that, but what she learns about in this visit is that one of them has imprinted on a 2-year-old. And she's like, that's weird. And Jacob's like, I know you're going to say it's so weird. I know, I get it. It does sound weird on paper, but it's actually like, it's not weird. And he's like, you know how like we can all hear each other's thoughts when we're the pack or whatever. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, so I know that he doesn't have any fucking weird thoughts about this kid. And she's like, okay, but it's still weird. And he's like, I know, but like also it's a wolf thing.
It's like the Frankensteins and the fucking sister cousin fiance.
Yes.
Like the straight sexualizing children.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
The fact that Stephenie Meyer wrote this, pinned it on the indigenous community as being their thing.
Yes.
And now imprinting and forgiving, like, of a 2-year-old.
It's just like...
Arrested immediately. You brought a lot of entertainment to my life, my young life, Stephenie Meyer's, like my young, uninformed life. And I love, like, Kristen Stewart. She's done a lot of great things.
We're all happy for her.
And, you know, Twilight kind of popped off her career. It's interesting. Taylor Lautner married someone named Taylor, so then they're Taylor and Taylor Lautner. And then they said they're going to have a baby and said a third Taylor Lautner. They're like, are you going to name the baby Taylor? But like, it's also really funny that Taylor Swift is like, LOL, that's great. And his wife is a fan of her. So she's just like, love my Taylors. And you're like, okay. But like, Stephenie, you need to at least shell out some money. You have some work to do. You have some apologies to make. If I go to the real life La Push, they need to have a new library. Yeah, everything better fucking be nice. Everything better look so fucking nice from your dime. And let's be clear, she hasn't. She has not. She is not. When you told me that, that's what blew my mind the most. Because it's like, this conversation has been had. Yeah. That you can't, everybody, like a lot of people will make mistakes, especially in ignorance. You have the money to do something. You have the money and you have the platform. And I think people just get really, like, people have a really hard time admitting I did something wrong or whatever else. But like, when I say, like, I don't think Stephenie Meyer was trying to create villains out of these characters, that's not me excusing her behavior. That's me trying to contextualize things because, again, I don't think you should read these books, and I want you to understand what the perspectives are within them. I absolutely think Stephenie Meyer has so many crimes to answer for, so particularly against the Quileute tribe. And
they have told her, like they have been very vocal about how they are not happy with her usage of their name and her adaptation of their legends. And I think that it is imperative that she address that.
Yeah, and it's like we said, if you're a writer, have friends.
Have friends, and also time passes. Honestly, a lot of people didn't think there was a problem with this. So, like, let's not erase that. This came out, and a lot of us didn't blink twice because we had never encountered, like, the idea of appropriation in this way. I can imagine, I remember a lot of the excuses people made as it was starting to come out, like, this isn't okay. And instead, it's okay to just be like, yeah, this isn't okay. That was a mistake.
Yeah, you could definitely be like, oh, shit, I was wrong. I've had to, like, what is it? They say eat crow or like, with that, or like take the L. Like, I've had to do that before. And you grow as a person, especially as like white people, like you're pretty ignorant and the world has allowed you to be. So you're learning a lot more. But like, girl, if I check your social media and you were not advocating for Indigenous people during the COVID-19 epidemic when they were only getting body bags from our fucking government.
Yeah.
Because Brooks and Dunn said something.
Yeah.
Brooks and Dunn were advocating. If you were not, I've been drinking now.
Yeah, we're going through a lot.
They imprinted on a 2-year-old. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just gonna move on from that. Foreshadowing. Anyway, Bella and Jacob rode motorcycles for a while. That's pretty nice. Then, and this is going to continue to be fascinating, for some reason, shit gets dicey when Jacob finds out, like, he knows Bella wants to be a vampire. Like, we know that. Yeah. Done. He knows, like, he's like, you want to be with Edward. You want to be a vampire. I'm, like, working on it. And then he's like, I mean, Bella, we've got years together, like, whatever. And she's like, we've got weeks. And he loses his fucking shit. And he literally is like, I think you'd be better off dead. Bridgett, I was so angry typing this. Bella turns around and just rides her. She's like, maybe I'll get hit by a truck. She leaves, rides her motorcycle all the way back to the Cullens house and is like, absolutely not. And then Edward gets back and he, without her saying anything, is like, I'm really sorry for asking Alice to babysit you and keep you away from La Push. And I had some time away to realize that I've been really controlling, and me feeling worried about you is not an excuse for me to try to treat you like this. And then he's like kind of teasing her a little bit. And he's like, I thought I was coming back to a grizzly bear, because she's just like so fucking sad. And she like explains what happened. And when she's like, he said I'd be better off dead, Edward is like, that is very hurtful. And he's trying to be very tactful. And he's like, she's like, I can tell he's really pissed, but he doesn't do that thing where he's like, and I'll fucking kick his ass. He's like, I'm sure that really hurt to hear from someone that you care about.
Yeah.
And she's like, it did. So Bella gets home. And apparently Jacob is called to apologize. Obviously, he didn't say what he's apologizing for. And so Charlie just takes down a message like, Jacob says he's sorry, be nice to him, go easy on him, without having any idea what happened. And in the midst of all of this, Bella realizes that someone has been in her room. There are things missing, but nothing is like out of place. And she knows that the only person who could take things without disturbing anything is a vampire. This was originally going to be an ad break, but let's just keep going.
Yeah, we had our unscheduled ad break. We literally went to the liquor store.
We literally had to go to the liquor store. We had to eat a snack because the plot is thickening, and we are into part 3, Jedward Revisited. So it's not Victoria that was in her room or any scent that they recognize. Obviously, Bella forgives Jacob because she literally cannot stand to see him sad. It breaks her heart. She cares so much about him. And Edward is happy that Bella has a friend in Jacob. He is back in his whatever Bella wants era. Thank God, because that was fucking annoying. And so Jacob suggests that the wolves should come and see if they can smell anything, basically, get anything from this scent. And Edward's like, that's a good idea. They reach like a truce, agreeing that Bella would be safest that Bella would probably be safest in La Push anytime Edward's away hunting. Not like Bella's been saying that this whole time or anything.
Yeah.
Whatever. Glad the boys figured it out. Jacob somehow has another freak out when he learns that it's not just that it's weeks, but that Bella plans to be turned after graduation. I don't know how he keeps getting jump scared by the same information, but he does. And he's like worried about Bella becoming Vampella. They get through it without him wishing her dead. So like progress, I guess. And then Bella goes to a bonfire at La Push, and she learns about more legends that Stephenie Meyer plagiarized, adapted. And unsurprisingly, Bella identifies with this figure that we learn about called the Third Wife, who is a woman who spilled her own blood to distract the vampires so that the wolves could win. Very Bellacore.
Yeah.
Bella loves self-sacrifice. Alice tells Bella that she's going to throw a graduation party for all of them. And Alice is like, it's going to be fun. Jasper reveals his story and how he was a Confederate soldier. Honestly, nothing interesting there. Except, that part is boring. It's not important and didn't need to be part of it. Jasper also reveals that he is covered in vampire bites. And Bella's like, I never noticed before, because honestly, like, I've not been that close to Jasper that often.
Yeah, because he's gone.
Yeah, he's always like trying not to fucking suck her blood. Jasper's another character where, like, Confederate shit aside, I kind of wish we got more of him because he's really interesting, like, personality-wise. He's got, like, an interesting personality. But he's like, I was recruited into like this gang of newborn vampires. And this is kind of interesting. And also, I guess where she got the Confederate shit, where this is so annoying. He's like, these northern vampires are much more civilized than us down south. And he's talking about how there's all these vampire wars in the south for like territory. So that you can have like, you know, if you control an area, kind of like the Volturi do, right? Like if you control an area, nobody notices if it's just a couple vampires in one area. And so they'll turn a bunch of vampires to basically all kill each other. Because he's trying to explain that like newborn vampires and like his experience of fighting a bunch of newborn vampires and trying to stay alive is like, he's like, for a lot of vampires, their like second life is measured in weeks, not years or decades and centuries. They get turned and they fucking kill each other. This is pretty interesting. And Jasper thinks this is what's happening in Seattle. He's like, I've seen this before. I know what it looks like when a bunch of new, stupid, bloodthirsty vampires who don't know how to fucking act. He's like, not like me. No, he isn't. He feels so bad about not being able to deal with blood. He is like, I know what it's like. I've lived this. I lived like this for years. This is a bunch of messy vampires just kind of killing people and leaving their bodies in the street. And then, so they ask their like homies up in Alaska if they'll help. Like, will you fight with us? Because Alice is like, this like force is coming towards us. Like, she's like, it's weird because there's not a lot of clear decisions being made, but she can tell that something is coming towards them, and it doesn't seem to be associated with anyone they know. And the Alaska Coven is literally like, oh, we're actually really mad at you because one of us was like dating Laurent and you killed him. You know, like, first of all, the wolves killed him. Second of all, he tried to kill Bella.
Yeah.
And they're literally like, but we'll like chill if you let us kill that girl. And they're like, okay, so don't come over here. And that's weird. And then Bella's like, well, at least we won't have the graduation party. And Alice is like, we are still definitely having the graduation party. So Bella goes to spend the day with Jacob and invites him to the party. And they like talk about all the shit that's going on. And then for some reason, he's like, "Oh, I've been wanting to talk to you. I love you." He like confesses his love like it's new. I guess this is him trying to shoot his shot, which is like in a vacuum, fine. But then he's like, "Bella, explain why you want me around if you don't want to date me. If you didn't have feelings for me, why would you want me here?" And then he's like, "You can have me, bad behavior and all, or not at all." And then as Bella is being like very clear, she's like, "I love Edward. That's not going to change. I love you as a friend and I want to be your friend and I want you in my life, but there's nothing between us like that." She can tell he's about to kiss her. And she is literally like, no. She is saying no as he kisses her. Drink.
So this would be, looking back on my own toxicity, probably, I mean, minus the like forcing a kiss on somebody part, like probably something I would do of like, well, if you don't want me, then why are you hanging around? And I do understand that this character is a teenager.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it before about how art does not have to reflect morality.
Yeah. It goes the other way, right? Like that's part of what's so hard.
Yeah. It's just a hard pill to swallow that this was so normalized for us that we didn't see this as like disturbing. Like now we can look at it as disturbing behavior. But I just which I do think access to media and access to more people in the internet has created something to where like younger people and younger women do understand that this behavior is not okay and it's different from the way we normalized it because like we found that shit romantic because we were pushed and pushed and pushed to think like if he tries and tries and tries, it's because he loves you.
You're watching The Notebook and Ryan Gosling is like, "I'm hanging off of this Ferris wheel and I'm going to kill myself.
Fucking kill myself.
I will literally kill myself if you don't go on a date with me." And then our date is going to be lying in the street as cars come at us. Like, what are we doing?
Which honestly, that was the shit I would be
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, it's like you and me against the world shit.
Yeah, it's like when I would fucking car surf after my mom died going up Pine Mountain. It's like, just, and I know there's a lot of not fully developed brains, but the author also has a fully developed brain. So it's just, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm not having fun with this.
I know. And the thing that's really hard for me too is like, again, this moment that we're almost through is going to really suck. It doesn't suck as much as the reaction of other characters, right? Because like you're saying, being a teenager involves making a lot of mistakes and learning the hard way how not to treat other people. But in order to learn those lessons, you need other people to hold you accountable for your behavior.
Yeah.
And so he kisses Bella as she is telling him no. And she literally says, "Acting on instinct, I let my hands drop to my side and I shut down. I opened my eyes and I didn't fight and I didn't feel and I just waited for him to stop." And that's hard. And when he finally does stop, she punches him in the face. She does break her hand and he doesn't feel it at all because he's bigger and stronger than her.
Yeah.
And then he just like immediately starts joking that she kissed him back. And as she continues to assert that she did not kiss him back and that she was not interested, he accuses her of being overly defensive. Sounds like you're protesting too much. Like this is all a joke to him because it is. And where I really fucking need a drink is when Jacob brings her back to the house. Her hand is broken. And tells Charlie that Bella broke her hand punching him. Charlie laughs. That's his first reaction. And then when Charlie is like, "Oh, why'd she punch you?" And Jacob says, "Because I kissed her," Charlie says, "Good for you, kid."
I just got fucking tunnel vision. Like, I did not know it was going to be this bad, Brooke.
It keeps feeling, and I know this, it keeps feeling to me, like as I'm writing these notes, I'm like, and this is the worst thing that happens, or like, and this is it. And I keep expecting to be kind of like wrong, like just mad because I'm older and I'm really mad. But it's like actually this bad, and we were actually reading it.
Yeah.
And it's not that Twilight is particularly like weird with its portrayal of this kind of stuff.
No.
Like this is bad, but this is like one of many books like this.
It's very par for the course at the time, but it just felt, because like I would read Ellen Hopkins.
Yeah.
Was that her name? She had all the books about like drugs and sex and everything. But it was like, this person is going through a tough time. This is wrong. Which, again, I have not read those books in decades, so maybe not.
Yeah, but I do remember them being pretty good at like that.
This just feels like this is a normal, who am I going to take to the prom situation?
Again, I could not be discouraging you less to read these books unless there are two people I would encourage to read these books. Men. And secondly, also not as instructional manuals. Read this book as a man. If you find yourself struggling to understand what it's like to be socialized as a girl, I think Twilight would probably be pretty eye-opening. Like, I mean, if you're listening to our show, I expect you to probably be like pretty normal. And so I think this is probably illuminating. Also, if you don't understand what it's like to be raised like in a super religious environment, this is what that looks like when the person coming out of that is really progressive. Stephenie Meyer is really progressive for a Mormon woman at this time. She's probably still really progressive for a Mormon woman. This book doesn't really demonize sex, and it doesn't really demonize Bella's sexuality. And it might seem prescriptive about marriage, but for a like evangelical Mormon or Christian culture, it's not really. Like, Bella doesn't want to get married. She's not interested in that. That's not her bag. I think that it is almost more haunting that this book still feels like transgressive of a lot of the media we were consuming. The ways in which this book breaks the mold makes the ways in which it conforms to it so much harder to swallow. Because, like, fuck.
Yeah.
A feminist wrote this. And, like, I believe, like, I'm not saying she wrote a feminist book. Again, I'm saying she wrote this from the perspective of someone who believes in women's liberation.
Yeah.
She wrote this from the perspective of someone who's like, I'm trying to fight for women. She did not write this to try and oppress a generation of girls.
Yeah. And she's coming from that oppressed point as well.
That's a fucking bummer, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely... And it's like, because, you know, I'm Appalachian. A lot of our history and folktale is influenced by Native culture. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our culture is influenced by, like, Native and Black culture, as is a lot of American culture. But to just see it be so... It makes you want to reflect on your own stuff.
And that is why I read these books.
Yeah.
I think it really reminds me that there is a very real younger version of me that didn't question most of this.
Yeah.
And that helps me remember how to try to understand why people don't seem to get things, or how we're having currently a rise of evangelical Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Is to remember that, like, this felt and just like really depressingly, this book, I think if it and I don't think it should resurge in popularity, but if it did, I think, you know, the Ben Shapiro's of the world would try to ban it again.
Yeah.
Because it'd be too progressive.
Yeah.
And that's fucking crazy. So, anyway, Bella has to call Edward to come and get her because her father is openly commiserating with the boy who just assaulted her.
Yeah.
And for his part, he's back on Team Bella, thank God. Edward just asks what she needs, and he doesn't like take Jacob's bait. He's like, okay, I see. You punched him. He kissed you. Let's figure this out. And Jacob, like, while trying to goad Edward into, like, competing with him, says fucking hauntingly, what if she wants me to? As in, if what in the future a kiss between us were to be consensual, unlike the last one? Like, how would you feel if she did want it? Even as he's trying to, like, convince Bella that she did, he's like, well, what if it was? So he knows that it wasn't. To which Edward responds that he would respect whatever Bella wanted, but that perhaps Jacob should wait for her consent before he tries to kiss her again. They have like a little pissing contest, but honestly, it's pretty tame and I think pretty fine based on what Jacob just did. And whatever. We're through that moment now. Back to the regular vampire shit that's fine. Bella realizes that whoever is making this army of newborns must be coming after her. She's like, they must have stolen my clothes to make the newborns aware of my scent. It's like convoluted, and I don't really want to get into why this is a reveal or why it matters because it's boring. But, excuse me, it does. And so she like tells Alice, and Alice is like, oh my God, you're right. And then like she tells Edward, and he's like, fuck. And the graduation party is happening. So it's like a disaster. In Bella's head, she's like, this is great news. They just want me. Fuck yeah. But then she gets like increasingly more and more nervous as she sees everyone be like, and we'll fight them. And she's like, no, I'll just die. And you're like, Bella, come on.
Yeah.
So the party is happening. Jacob shows up. He brings Quill and Embry. And he like apologizes, kind of. He's like clearly not sorry. I think he literally says, I'm sorry, I guess. Anyway, he gives her a like wooden wolf charm that he carved and she loves it. So I guess that's nice. It's on like a charm bracelet or whatever. Bella tells Jacob what she figured out, and then she's like stressed all over again because he's like, fuck yeah, we're going to kick their asses. And she's like, I hate that everyone is really trying to die for me. This is really stressing me out. And she's like, I just think if everyone would listen to me, what if I die? And they're like, Bella, that is stupid. And she's like, I don't understand why. And then Jasper's like, all the wolves should meet with us later. We can discuss strategy with fighting newborns and also vampires in general. And he's like, newborns are kind of weird. I'll show you. Bella's losing her damn mind. She's like, why is everybody still talking about this fight? I can just die. Anyway, Bella's also the only one somehow that is like, this is connected to Victoria. And Edward's like, why do you think that? And she's like, because Victoria's trying to kill me. I don't know, like, duh. And he is like, I think what you're saying makes sense. Like, that's a good way for us to pursue this. But I don't know why that's a revelation. Anyway, Bella's like, you're taking me to this meeting tonight with the wolves. And Edward is like, Bella, it's at like 3 a.m. And she's like, you can take me or I can call Jacob. I'm not fucking doing this. And he's like, okay, I will wake you up and we will go. And when the wolves arrive, they all realize there's more of them. There are 10 wolves, and which is more than any of them were expecting. And Edward has to translate because the wolves don't want to shift to human form while they're in vampire territory. Jasper demonstrates how to attack newborns and how they'll attack in turn. He's like, they're really strong. Newborns are stronger than regular vampires because they still have human blood, like from their own human body. And so they're like really strong, but kind of like they don't understand how to use their strength yet. So they're going to do things that are stupid. Alice tells Bella that she knows that Bella is thinking about trying to sacrifice herself so that no one gets hurt. And she's like, hey, if I see that your plans start to solidify, I'm going to tell Edward. And this is very girl of her. She's back in my good graces because she's like, babe, you're crashing out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep your secret if you chill, but you cannot just try to go kill yourself. Jasper low-key agrees with Bella, and he's like, Bella would be incredible bait. But everyone except Jasper and Bella are like, no. Bella begs Edward to sit out the fight. She's like, I just can't sit by myself while everyone I care about tries to like die for me. And she feels really selfish asking for him to stay with her because she's like, I feel like I'm asking you to choose between me and your family because this is scary and like people could get hurt. And Edward is like, I'm really glad you told me how you feel and what you need. And I will tell everyone that this is what you would like to do. And we will figure out how to do that. And then Alice comes up with a scheme so that Charlie thinks that Bella is having an extended sleepover with her while the boys are out of town. And everyone is just preparing for this upcoming battle. Alice can see this newborn army getting closer. We learn that Leah Clearwater is a wolf. And she is the only woman to have ever shifted. And it has been a mess for obvious reasons. I like Leah a lot as a character. We're going to hear more from her in the next book. This is a really interesting element of the werewolf mythology that Stephenie Meyer is cobbling together or whatever. The wolf mythology. They're not werewolves, but come on, cut me some slack. So the night before the battle, Bella is more convicted than ever in her decision to become a vampire. She's just like, the next time there is danger coming to my doorstep and trying to like threaten everyone I love, I'm not going to be a liability. She's like, this is fucking hell. Like, this sucks so bad that everyone is going to fight and I literally can't do anything but get in the way. Edward is like, he's like cool about the wolf charm and stuff. He's like, oh, I think that's like nice. And like, I understand why you would want it, but also like, I don't think it's fair that Jacob's allowed to give you presents and I can't. And so she's like, she acquiesces. And he's like, could I give you a charm to add to it? It's an heirloom. She's like, I don't want you to spend money on me. She's like really stressed about him spending money on her. And he's like, it was my mom's. So he gives her this like heart-shaped like little piece of jewelry to add to it. And Bella broaches the topic of his condition to change her himself, marriage. And she's like, listen, I'm just going to lay it out for you, bad boy. I want to smash before I become a vampire. And he's like, absolutely not. And she's like, just listen. She's like, every single person has told me that once I'm turned, the only thing I'm going to care about is like bloodlust. I'm just going to care about blood for like a long time. And this is the human experience that I want to have. I want to experience getting to be with you as the exact version of me that I am now. The version of me that is so excited about that is driven by that is passionate about that. And Edward is like, because at first she's like, I'll marry you on one condition. And he's like, anything you need. I'll do whatever you want. I'm so desperate to be betrothed to you. And then he's like, but not that. Anything but that. He's like, no, my one weakness. He's like, Bella, I like don't even know how to discuss this with you because it is so scary for me to imagine myself not fully in control when I'm with you. He's like, I am so much stronger than you. And that is easy for me to manage when I am in control and I can like manage it. But if I hurt you, I would not be able to forgive myself. That is just like the worst thing I can imagine. And he's like, and I'm worried that will happen because TBH, we're both virgins. I do not know what that experience will be like. I expect it to be kind of a big deal. I've been building it up in my head for a long time. And she's like, listen, I'm not worried about it. I don't think you're going to hurt me. And Edward is this is a really fun scene. In the midst of everything in this book being hell, this is like probably one of my favorite scenes in the series because it's like really sex positive and cute. Like it's just these two people who would like to have sex with each other. And again, like, yes, Edward is like 103, but he's like mentally really 17 and this is his first girlfriend. And so of all the things I have beef with him about, that's weirdly not one of them. He very much is like, but my virtue, and she's like, listen, virtue's for the pigs. I'm saying that we should smash, and she's trying to like smash tonight. She's like, I'll get married to you whenever you want. What if we smashed? Everybody could die tomorrow. Who knows? And he's like, okay, I will offer you a compromise that I will try after we are married. And she's like, That's not fair. And he's like, no, listen. He's like, if either of us is going to go back on our promise, it's going to be you. Because he's like, you have all of the power, basically, in this situation. And he's like, and that would be fine. And I wouldn't begrudge you doing that. But like, marriage is really important to me. And it's something that I know you're really struggling with. And I also low-key want to hedge our bets when it comes to our souls.
Yeah.
He's just like, this is the only thing I have the chance to do right.
Yeah, this is the Christian guilt that a lot of people feel.
Yeah. And so he's just like, we just happen to both like not have done this thing yet. And we could just get married first, like just in case, and just do this one thing right. And he's like, and I know that marriage is like difficult for you, but in this scene, it does not feel like he's trying to trick her out of it. It feels like he's genuinely like, I will try this if we can get married first. I will try. He's like, I'm not promising it will work, and I will not hurt you if it's not working, but I will try if we can get married. And so she's like, oh, fuck. And she's like, whatever. And he's like, are we like betrothed? And she's like, stop and be quiet. And he's like, do you want to see the ring? And she's like, I'm going to end it. What do you mean? And he's like, you don't want to see the ring. And then she's like, she realizes that it's like important to him. And she's like, yeah, I want to see the ring. And he's like, no, you don't. It's fine. I'll just save it for later. And she's like, show me the ring. And she like melts because it's his mom's ring.
Aww.
And this is just like really cute Mormon porn.
Yeah.
Like, I just like it because Bella is the one who wants to smash. She is the one who is interested. And Edward is always like, I am literally so horny at the sight of you wearing a wedding ring that I know means you're going to marry me because I am so obsessed with the idea of marrying you. So he does the whole legit proposal thing with the ring, and Bella says yes, she will marry him. And now, fair listeners, we are going to the patron-only section of this episode. I left you on a decent note. Patrons will not be so lucky. And you should stay tuned to hear Bridgett's reaction to the finale of Eclipse, which is book 3 of the Twilight saga. We are very close to Bella getting what she wants.
Brooke makes a damn good chickpea salad. Love the little virgin right now.
My eyes are rolling like all the way back into my head.
Womp womp.
Yeah. It's like, I'm serious. I think they should start in jail and have to earn their way out.
And I don't know enough about Mormonism to know anything about it.
Is that where I'm like,
a baddie like this?
oh, we're in hell. Everything sucks. But I guess here we are. Hey, guys. What's up? Welcome, chat. We're back with a good, fun time. Oh, just kidding. We're still talking about Eclipse. How do you feel?
There's one book left, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a part 1 and part 2.
The movie was a part 1 and part 2.
But the book was just a super thick-ass book. I remember buying it at Hazard Walmart.
I do not know if we're going to have to do it in 2 episodes or not. But I will tell you, it is not as dramatic as this book.
Yeah.
And I know you might be thinking that's crazy because I know there's a part where someone imprints on a baby. It's Jacob. We all know that. Yeah, but it's not as that's not real, right? Like, there's a lot we can talk about with like psychology and trauma and whatever. All the shit that happens in this book is real stuff that happens in our real lives. And it is fucking brutal. This is actually as bad as it gets.
Okay. And then we're moving to that lighthearted story we both read.
Yeah. Bridgett and I did both read a book that's been wrecking us since we read it. Man, horror and romance, what were we thinking?
We don't give ourselves a fucking break.
Yeah. And then I was immediately so dark. My response was, I was like, since when do women get a fucking break, Bridgett?
We're going to have to fucking... What did we talk about with... There was something that was going to happen. And Halloween.
Yeah.
We have an idea for Halloween.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
And it involves Brooke and I taking edibles, which we do not do.
No, we don't. We can't hold our weed at all.
No.
So we thought it might be funny to try to do it on mic.
Yep.
And on camera.
So we're going to have to we might have to bump up the timeline of that to make this happier. Because fucking hell, y'all, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm also sorry. And if you didn't listen to this, you're also not hearing this. But I will tell you, you don't need all that to just enjoy the fourth one. It's really the things that happen in that book that are crazy and like traumatic are crazy and traumatic in that like visceral horror way we like, where we're just like, wow, that's the stuff about being a woman that's traumatic, but not because someone's doing it to you, but because it's just like part of it. We all know she has a kid. It's just like really descriptive about it. But yeah, this is an interesting book. And I mean that genuinely. It's really interesting. I find it really interesting to revisit. And for some reason, I can't just read these books in isolation. And I think it's because there are seeds being sown the whole time where like you get baited, right? Because you're like, I just want Bella to be happy. And at the end of Twilight, you're like, surely soon, whatever, let's go. And you're like, there are parts of this I like. And then shit gets really bad for a while. And you're like, I actually need Bella to be happy or I'm not going to be able to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what carries me through to the end. So we will get there. We'll probably do something else in between. Little palate cleanser. I don't know. Fucking something horrific will be a palate cleanser after that. And we'll get through it together. Being a woman in the world is hard. Being a teenage girl is hard. And I guess my silver lining for this is that when I read this, I don't think it's okay. And I no longer feel like this is how I should walk through the world. And every time I read it, I get more and more out of, I don't know, just kind of sitting with the version of me that thought that was okay.
Yeah.
And it helps me remember how much work we've all done as a society and how far we still have to go. And that you really can't let the bastards get you down because they're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, they're wrong. You deserve better.
Yeah. That was very nicely put.
So, we love you.
We love y'all.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.
For something a little bit more lighthearted.